Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. As today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today we got the Detroit Red Wings' crazy offseason as they picked up some big name players and Andrew Kopp, Perron, Ben Sherratt, which was... sheesh, it was kind of a bad contract. And then Ollie Mann and a few other players. And they actually got a really good starting goalie in Ville Husso. There's a lot to talk about here with the Detroit Red Wings. But before we jump into this, I like to just say if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated there, boys. So, let's get into talking about the crazy Detroit Red Wings offseason where they're really starting to bolster their team up and starting to look pretty scary, to say the least. The very first thing I do want to talk about, they did hire a new head coach there in Derek Lalonde, who was the assistant for the Tampa Bay Lightning over the past few years, and now will be the head coach for the Detroit Red Wings. I really don't know very much about this guy. He was assistant coach for the Lightning for a little bit, and I think, it's not a bad idea. Blashill was just not your guy. He was a good coach for the rebuild. You made your team suck ass, basically, and, helped some of the younger players a little bit, and it wasn't a bad idea. It didn't work out fantastically, but now you have a head coach that will help you with that curve with all the new players that you just acquired with, Andrew Kopp and Perron and Kubalik, Sherratt, Ollie Mata, Ville Husso. I mean, there's so many new players that have just joined the Detroit Red Wings. It's definitely going to be a change in culture, to say the least. Not just that, there's going to be a lot of new faces. So trying to mesh all these guys together and being able to play with each other is going to be very difficult. And I think with the new coach, I think that'll help out a little bit. So let's get into the very first thing, like we usually do, and talk about the draft. What did Stevie Y do? Now, this draft was all right. They didn't get a whole lot of great players. Marco Kasper was definitely one of them that was, I think, a very, very good pickup. They don't have anybody that's a big, future second line centerman type of player for the Detroit Red Wings, right? They got, Andrew Kopp right now who can play center, but you definitely want somebody in the future that could be able to play in that spot, and that's Marco Kasper, a guy that is absolutely amazing two-way guy. He's playing against big adults there in the SHL and was playing very good in the SHL. Didn't play too bad in I don't think he played in the World Juniors this coming around, but he did play in the World Championships, didn't play too bad. But he's playing pretty good against the grown men, and honestly, 11 points in 46 games, not a big point producer, but he's very, very good defensively, and that's definitely something you're going to be seeing a lot of this guy. He's kind of like a bubble top line guy, but you're definitely going to be seeing him in that second line type of area and playing a really, really good two-way defensive game. The rest of the draft class, don't know too much about. Dylan James is pretty good, but Corey Perlman on The Athletic gave this draft about a B, and I think it's mostly just due to Kasper being such an amazing pick and Dylan James as well. Really good offensive talent, great hands. So another good offensive player here in Dylan James, but the rest of the draft, not very much information on the rest of the guys. This Dimitri guy played pretty good in the MHL, a lot of points out of him as well. So some big point producers, some guys that could really come in and, have great hands in Dylan James, or this Dimitri guy who has a great shot. They do have some great future guys. It's just, dependent on how well they will turn out here in the coming years. And then we'll move into the trades, which I absolutely love this move that they did where they picked up Ville Husso for legit just a third round pick. This was a stellar move by the Detroit Red Wings. Ville Husso had an amazing season for the St. Louis Blues. Every time I'm seeing him, I loved him. He didn't have a great playoff run with the Blues. He really struggled as the netminder for the Blues, but I really, really loved him during the regular season. 919 save percentage, has some great analytics, and especially since he's going into a young team, he has that time to just develop himself, make himself better, and they also signed him to a quick contract right after getting him to the team. They signed him to a 3-year, $4.75 million deal, and this was an amazing deal. I think this is great for Ville Husso. This was around the AAV I was thinking. I wish the Oilers went after him, but this was a great move by the Detroit Red Wings to get a very, very good starting goalie. And I mean, Nedeljkovic could be good as well, but this past season, he really didn't do very well with the heavy workload. So I think with having a really good tandem between Nedeljkovic now and Ville Husso, I think it's a really, really good idea because Nedeljkovic didn't do great with that big workload that he had to deal with. Plus, I mean, the Red Wings defensive core wasn't amazing anyways this year. They definitely improved it a bit. But I think with Ville Husso, he's a great goaltender. He played in front of a all-right defensive core there for the Blues. I think this is definitely an upgrade for their goaltending core and is a great move here by the Red Wings to start off their offseason. So we'll continue to move on. They also got Olli Mata, who is a great defensive defenseman, to a one-year $2.25 million deal. I mean, there wasn't a lot of amazing defensemen out there available, so bringing in Olli Mata at a cheap deal to play in the top four alongside of most likely Filip Hronek, not a bad idea. You're bringing in a solid defensive defenseman who's showed some good defensive numbers. Is definitely a guy you just do not want to let him touch the puck, but is a guy that can play very well defensively and hits a lot as well. Dominik Kubalik, they signed him to a 2-year, $2.5 million deal. Once again, another deal I really like as well out of Kubalik. This was a guy that formerly scored 30 goals in his very first season. He hasn't been able to replicate what he was able to do in his first season. His finishing ability has been going downhill, but I think that's just with the way that the Blackhawks have been going too. They've been going downhill as well. So I think with Kubalik being added into a team that already has a really, really good offensive core, I think he'll fit in perfectly, whether he's going to be playing up on the second line or whether you'll be playing with Pius Suter on the third line. I think Dominik Kubalik will have a really, really good offensive production season. And honestly, this deal is a steal, in my opinion. 2.5 for a guy that plays pretty good two-way wise, generates a little bit of offense, plays all right defensively. Really good move. David Perron, a power play specialist, definitely does not produce a whole lot of 5-on-5 offense, but does play very well defensively and is just a great power play guy. He's been amazing for the St. Louis Blues over the past few years. Now he's coming to a young team, which will be able to help them develop. He's a great playoff performer as well. He had 13 points in 12 games, an amazing shot. He's just that type of guy that you want to have on the power play, and he's definitely going to be most likely up on the top unit alongside of Larkin and Raymond. He's going to definitely be on that top power play unit, and once again, another stellar contract. I really like the move. Plus, I don't think they slapped on a no trade clause, but it's a 10 team and it's only 2-year deal, right? Like, you can't go wrong with a 2-year deal on David Perron. He's an amazing player. Honestly, is a player I would like to have on my favorite team and the others as well. And I mean, almost any fan would love to have David Perron on their team just with how great of a player he is. Moving forward, though, this was probably one of the more horrendous contracts that the Detroit Red Wings did sign, was signing Ben Sherratt. Now, at least it was just a no-trade clause, but Ben Sherratt is a guy that hits a lot, but does not play very well defensively. People really overhype up Ben Sherratt, and I'll probably get a few comments on the video telling me how much of a moron I am about saying that Ben Sherratt is ass. But I will stand by that thought that Ben Sherratt is not very good at all. He's definitely not the defenseman you want being paired up alongside of Moritz Snyder. And Moritz Snyder's going to have to carry Ben Sherratt a lot. Ben Sherratt does okay generating some offense, but when you ask him to play defense, Ben Sherratt is not your guy. And I think Ben Sherratt would do a lot better if he wasn't playing so much minutes. This guy is relied upon as a top pairing defenseman when really Ben Sherratt is nowhere near a top pairing defenseman, is probably one of the worst top pairing defensemen across the entire league. Ben Sherratt is just not a very good defenseman, and locking him up for 4 years at 4.75 when you already have a young developing team and most likely some young defensive guys that are waiting to step on through that doorstep with Simon Edvinsson, I just don't see why you go after a guy like Ben Sherratt. I'm not a big fan of the move. I really do not like it. Was one of the worst moves. I mean, it's definitely not the worst AAV in the world, but definitely not a move that you need to make, especially right now. And then also Andrew Kopp, I thought this deal was amazing. 5 years at 5.625. Played really, really good with the Rangers. He's a versatile guy, can play anywhere in the lineup. Brings a great two-way game, great special teams guy. He's just amazing everything. And as another player, kind of like David Perron, that you would just absolutely love to have on your team. And especially since you got him locked up for the next 5 years, he could play up on the top line. You could play as your second line center. He could play almost anywhere. And a guy like Andrew Kopp is an absolute, player that you would love to have. And then otherwise, they got Jake Wallman back to $1 million deal. And then Mark Pysyk as well. I really love this guy as well. Great defensive analytics and is a really good depth defenseman here for the Detroit Red Wings. So, honestly, an amazing offseason here for the Red Wings. An offseason where they didn't lose out on a whole lot of players like Rice. And, yeah, they really didn't lose out on anybody. And they benefited a lot. The one trade that they did do, they only traded away a third-round pick. And you look at the squad, it's pretty damn deadly. Their defense score is still something to be worried about. I I feel. You know, it's still not bad defensively, but it's definitely not ideal, to say the least. Our offensive core is, I mean, this offensive core could definitely carry you to, you know, a playoff spot without a doubt. Their defensive core is, or their offensive core is really strong, with that top line looking that deadly, the second line looking really good, third line's looking really good. So there's a lot to like about what the Detroit Red Wings did. So what will I grade this team? And I'll probably honestly give them the same grade I did with the Dallas Stars, and that's an A- with this one. I really love what they did. It was absolutely amazing. I think I would have almost given them an A+ if they didn't sign the contract to Ben Sherratt. I think that was the only minus that I didn't like about this offseason, the Ben Sherratt deal. But even then, it's only at 4.75, so it's not like it's a horrendous contract, but it's definitely not ideal. You know, it's definitely not ideal that you sign that to that type of guy and to that type of term. Otherwise, though, I really like the Almada move. You know, he's going to be a decent top four guy. Definitely not ideal out of him either, but, you know, a decent top four guy option. Kubalik was a really good signing. Perron was a really good signing. Same with Kopp. So every, you know, signing that they did do, and the Husso deal, I thought was a steal. Every move that they did was really good. So give props to the Detroit Red Wings on a great, amazing offseason and a really good draft as well. So they're going to get a big A-. But for now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Detroit Red Wings offseason. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.